It is Wednesday, March 7th, 2018. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very productive and very long Get Your Ass Kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Wednesday. I started kind of a private initiative with one of the other students in class. And it's been more along the lines of, I don't know, I think it's kind of a natural progression kind of thing. That, you know, you get so far into it and then you start wanting to branch out a little bit, experiment a little bit, and, kind of explore the territory already covered. And, like, one of my biggest troubles is triangles. I have a lot of trouble with triangles. And also I have trouble with the armbar from mount. It's something about getting my hips in the right position. I have a little bit of trouble with that. And so I spent a lot of time working on that with a partner today. And he's very, very good. Thank you very much, Nathan. Certainly do appreciate the additional support outside of class. And you know, I gotta say, it's the only community that I have, as far as like socially or whatnot, that is as much like the Verge community that I've found here in crypto. That, you know, very, very helpful people, you know, and, you know, just they want you to succeed at using the knowledge, you know, and I love that. I love people out there in the world that are willing to help us all grow along the way. And I feel like that is terribly, terribly important. And a lot of times when these weird tragedies happen, where, you know, somebody will go nut bar and take a gun to school or some shit like that, I really feel like they're missing that in their lives, that they don't have the mentor or the community around them that's helping them work through difficulties in their life. You know, and I find that we downplay the fact that we are a very, very social creature. I mean, we can handle periods of isolation that are very, very long and all that. But we are a social creature. You know, we do require stimuli from one another. If not one another, at least nature. But we are a social creature. We're very stimulus oriented. You know, we're not just sitting around like a I don't know how to say it, maybe like a caterpillar and pupa, you know, while they're all curled up in their cocoon and whatnot. But, you know, even they are going through a metamorphosis that's necessary to be very, very still for, very crucial, or at least protected, rather. And, you know, I think we're all going through that in some level or another. You know, that there's something to be learned about all of the things that we're receiving, you know, via stimuli and whatnot throughout our lives, that we never really learn all of it. But we do what we can to enhance our understanding of the stimuli that we do receive and learn different ways to react to it. And right now it seems like the SEC is getting all interesting in the noises they're making concerning crypto about, you know, compliant people and non-compliant people and blah, blah, blah. To me, compliance with regulators is of little to no importance in cryptocurrencies. See, to me, the thing that's important is whether or not the transaction clears and the funds are valid. You know, or if the transaction is valid and it actually clears, that's what concerns me. Beyond that, we can pontificate endlessly, but in the end, that's what's really important. Did the money actually change hands? Do I actually own it? Who owns it at any one time? These are the things that are important. And so, you know, the SEC making all kinds of interesting noises. I love that they care enough to do so. And I do like their advisories. they've been making advisories. They and the CFTC have been kind of proactive about putting out notices for things to look out for, ways to watch out for your own bunghole. And like I said, I find that aspect of their function very, very useful. But as far as establishing criteria for valid actors and invalid actors, I think that's up to you. It's fun to point at it and say, yeah, we regulate that, but I mean, really, if you have no control over it, how exactly do you regulate it? And I believe that cryptocurrencies being as they are, you could bust down on the originator of a coin and whatnot. Sure. Okay. So you've stopped him from developing for that coin. But while he's in prison or in court or whatever, trying to pay off debts, somebody else could be developing the coin. Somebody else could be mining the coin. Somebody else could be transacting the coin. And so it doesn't begin and end with him. Well, I mean, it might begin with them, but it doesn't end with them. And with us all being quote-unquote suspect, because we're all more or less capable, it draws into question really what is the defining characteristic of a bad actor. And the only criteria that I can really think of that matters, again, is do people make good on their promises? If they are, if their organization is making good, it's doing what they say it's going to do, and it does it in the time that they say it's going to happen in, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Now, they start fumbling the ball, they start getting lackadaisical, they start getting abusive with their customers and their funds. Okay, now we're starting to travel into some potentially criminal area. If not at least civil, possibly criminal territory. If you're knowingly doing things that are basically already regulated, and you're not bothering with any of the regulations that actually apply to what you're doing, okay. It depends on what those regulations are. It's like, are you out of compliance with your fulfillment rate? Then, now we've got a real problem. You're not fulfilling. And that's an entirely different story as to, whether or not some state approves of you or puts their little stamp of approval on you or whatever. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music, and I'm not entirely certain what to open it up with. Fuck it. It seems like this is the general tenor of the markets out there, and so, yeah, we're going to go with it. A little bit of body count for us here. The Ski Mask Way, here on Coin Metal. And that was Ministry with Punch in the Face. And that one goes out to Bill Burr. I've been a fan of his comedy for a while, but it seems like he and I have had kind of the similar interests as far as like music, but he's more like actually a musician. I just make noises with the guitar. I don't actually like play anything. But he plays drums. And I think I made note of this on the show before, but he had done a YouTube video, or it's actually, I guess it was part of his podcast. My apologies. And he had described going to see Meshuggah, and I thought that was really special. Because, he doesn't strike me as somebody that was like, in Meshuggah to begin with. He was a drummer, and then he heard Meshuggah, and he just went, and yeah, I had the same experience. But apparently he's into ministry too. And so, apparently he had Uncle Al on his show. And here it is. This is just a quick little article here on metalinjection.net. And this is, I'd like to attribute this to, I think it was Cece was the one that gave this to me. or sent this to me or whatever. I got so much social media open at any one time that I have no idea who sent me what. Here we go. Yes, it was. It was CC who sent this to me. And again, it's on Metal Injection. Ministry frontman invites comedian Bill Burr to play drums live with the band. And this is posted by Greg Kennelty on March 7th, 2018. So yes, penis. Here we go. Comedian Bill Burr is no stranger to metal or drumming. Burr has voiced his love of bands like Meshuggah and the Mars Volta music and their drumming, and had his mind completely blown apart by seeing the former live. I believe that's the prior, but never mind. Burr recently continued his public love of metal by having Ministry frontman Al Jorgensen guest on his podcast Monday morning podcast, where they got... Dude, this person does not know how to use a period. I mean, this is like the longest fucking sentence ever. I can see several spots where a period and a comma would have been very, very fucking useful. Anyway, I'll struggle through this. Burr recently continued his public love of metal by having Ministry frontman Al Jorgensen guest on his podcast Monday morning podcast, where they got around to discussing Ministry's latest single, Twilight Zone. Burr said it made him want to go play drums and that his fantasy would be to get on stage and play with Ministry live. Jorgensen turned around and called Burr out for, quote, pussying out already and not playing with the band in the past, to which Burr pretty much has the reaction you'd expect. Now that you said I'm a pussy, I'll do it. Quote, it made me want to go play drums. That's how I know I like a song, is I immediately go into fantasy mode and whatever cool thing is happening, I'm doing it. So you're one for one. So at first I was playing drums, and then when you did the harmonica part, then that was me in my fantasy. I was playing that, and everyone was gazing up at the stage going, wow, look at how awesome Bill is. Jorgensen, that could still happen. We've offered you to come on stage before, and you pussied out. Burr, I didn't pussy out. What are you talking about? Jorgensen, at that Danzig gig thing, you know, whatever. Danzig's 2017 Blackest of the Black Festival. Burr, I couldn't make it down there. Jorgensen, look, we were ready to bring you a helicopter to fly you down onto the stage and have you come back and play drums for us. Burr, now that you said I'm a pussy, I'll do it. I'm playing a little bit of double bass now. I just don't want to ruin it, you know? I don't want to ruin it because people are coming there to see you. Sorry, I'm trying to do like the worst Burr ever. What's kind of ironic about that is that's kind of Burr's thing. He could probably actually do me better than I can do him, so never mind. You know what it was, because you were doing a festival, so I figured you were playing a shorter set. Like, if you're going and it's full on, you know, you show, if you have some jerk-off comic come on for one song, I think the crowd can handle that. But if it's just like, hey, we only got time for 6 songs, and one of them, this guy from VH1's I Love the 80s Strikes Back, is gonna play drums. Now, I know you guys might get a kick out of that. I'm just worried that your fans, what they're going to fucking throw at me while I'm up there. You can check out the full version on the podcast, and I strongly suggest you do so because Bill Burr is a funny dude. A lot funnier than me. Anyway, and I'm going to leave that tab up. Hopefully there's not like a miner running in the background. But that's the metal end of the show, I guess. I think we should get into more pressing matters. especially concerning us here in cryptocurrency land in the future, in the 21st century, whereas everybody else insists on living in the 1950s. Here we go. This is on Forbes.com. Bitcoin price drops below $10,000 as traders suspect Binance hack. Now, I heard rumors about this, and I probably have another tab open somewhere about this. Let's get into it. This is by Charles Bavard, contributor, blah, 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 full penis. Yeah, let's go for it. Down here. Bitcoin prices fell to less than $10,000 today, plunging through that key psychological level as markets responded to concerns that digital currency exchange Binance may have been hacked. The world's largest cryptocurrency by market value declined to as little as $9,468.45, according to the CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index. At this price, Bitcoin was trading at its lowest since February 26, when the digital currency reached as little as $9,393.41, additional BPI figures show. Editorial note: investing in cryptocurrencies or tokens is highly speculative and the market is largely unregulated, just the way we like it. Anyone considering it should be prepared to lose their entire fucking investment. The fucking was mine. Wrecked! Binance troubles. Bitcoin's sharp decline came as rumors circulated that Binance may have been compromised. Earlier this morning, the exchange announced, and that's a tag, that it had halted withdrawals as it looked into, quote, unauthorized market sells. At the time, Binance stated that there was no evidence that the platform had been compromised. Market impact. The current concerns surrounding Binance have dragged down the price of not only Bitcoin but several other digital currencies as well, said Jeff Coyen, president of 360 Blockchain USA. Quote, all of crypto is getting battered right now, based on fears that Binance was hacked, he stated. Coyen went on to emphasize that the effect that this uneasiness is having on the market. Quote, as the technical analysis traders are saying right now, it's not worth trying to analyze anything until this Binance freakout is resolved. The Wild West of crypto. However, the digital currency space has suffered plenty of hacks, emphasized Charles Hayter, co-founder and CEO of digital currency data platform Crypto Compare. Quote, this is the Wild West, and every so often the bad guys manage to break open a vault or two, he said. One way or the other, the cryptocurrency market will recover from this event, stressed Hayter. I couldn't agree more. Maddie Greenspan, senior market analyst for senior trading platform eToro, offered a similar assessment. Quote, when it rains it pours, but the rain will soon pass. SEC crackdown. Market analysts also pointed to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's recent decision to subpoena dozens of firms associated with digital currencies. The SEC specifically sent a large number of these inquiries to companies selling digital tokens through initial coin offerings. Quote, I would bet that the SEC subpoenas are having a big effect on the markets right now, said serial entrepreneur Marshall Swat. He added, advisory/gatekeepers and ICO companies are scrambling right now. There is apparently a wave of subpoenas going out, but it is hard to know whether they are simply information seeking or a prelude to enforcement action. I would be it is a small mix of both. I would bet. You fucking retard. Sorry. Quote, a long road. Hader lauded the SEC's decision, stating that while it may be uncomfortable for now, it is most certainly for the best in the long run. Quote, rigor gets rid of scam artists and brings out trust, he said, he emphasized. However, he stated that there is a long road ahead, and we are only at the beginning. Oh, disclosure, I own some Bitcoin Cash, and Ether. Thanks, dude. Fuck you. You should read your shit aloud, dude. Sorry. Thank you, Charles, for writing that. It was mostly good. You know how to use a comma and a period, unlike the previous author. However, I strongly advise that you read your shit aloud before you hit send. Done. And so, yeah, Binance. And we've got their announcement right here. Please read regarding unauthorized market sells. We are investigating reports of some users having issues with their funds. Our team is aware and investigating the issue as we speak. As of this moment, the only confirmed victims have registered API keys to use with trading bots or otherwise. There is no evidence of the Binance platform being compromised. Please remain patient, and we will provide an update as quickly as possible. Edit. Withdrawals are temporarily disabled at this time. Edit 2. Reversal of suspicious trades is in progress. Hoping to have the exchange fully functional again soon. Alright. And let's read some of the details here. I have API keys, but I have them IP restricted to a very secure server running Linux. There is no way that my personal security has been compromised, yet my account has been affected. Are there any API keys that you didn't create? Yes, I just spotted this. I've asked Binance to check the IP of the user who created the API key. Have you spotted the same issue? Take security extremely seriously. I created X2 API keys and had them IP whitelisted to a watertight lockdown server. I logged into my account just now and noticed that a third API key has been created without IP whitelisting. This was 100% not me. I need answers. Let's see. I think there's a trend here. I think what might have happened is that you were phished a while ago, and whoever did that created an API key and just left it dormant. There are no emails when you create a new API key, so if you hadn't checked in a while, it's possible you missed it. Next one, not possible, my friend. I did not get phished. Every time I access the exchange, I use a local host name that I define in my local host file to ensure that I never get phished and always log into the official site. There's always a way to have your details compromised. No one is infallible. Blah, blah, blah. Didn't you hear me? It is not possible. Oh, there's another comment here. Inconceivable! Oh man. I love the humor online. I swear. Nerds, people that spend an awful lot of time in front of their computer, I shouldn't even call them nerds anymore, really, because that doesn't really compute. It's pretty much everybody now. But the kind of humor that I find online, it's the best shit ever. I mean, really, inconceivable. And one time is enough. That's really a good idea, using a host file, local host file. I want to tell you something. It's bad enough that you were hacked, okay? But now you may have to change your security protocols, dude, because you've basically told people the way that you secure yourself. I mean, I tell people the way I secure myself a little bit, only because I made it so innocuous. I don't tell you things like usernames or emails or any of that other bullshit, because that's part of the security, is that you don't use the accounts for anything else. You don't use the hardware for anything else. Anything. I don't give a fuck what it is. A messaging app, a fucking IRC, a fucking Discord, anything. Just don't do it. I mean, I've got a terminal that is all it's dedicated to. I have security devices that I paid a decent amount of money for, that I use as my second factors and all that other shit, to distance it as far away from myself as I possibly can. You know? And I mean, there are other ways to compromise somebody, but you have to have some pre-knowledge of other things first. And I do my best to make that very, very, very difficult. I mean, you got to be like hacking Google and shit like that to get it. I mean, but like hacking Google, not hacking me, hacking Google. But anyway, yeah, you know, that's, I've said this before, I place the security outside the device, because I don't count on the device to be secure. I mean, that's just my personal, like, way to go about it, way to think about it. And when you do that, though, when you place that level of security on things, then the possibility that your shit's going to get hacked is a lot lower. I mean, for all we know, what's really the issue is not the exchange, nor the user's security. What it could in fact be is the application that this guy's making API keys for. I mean, because there's like an API overlay, you know, that's what you're using to manage your bots and shit. Well, maybe there's something in that allows the author or somebody who knows about this access point to create their own API key and log into your account via that. I know we don't want to think that's a possibility, but if the cash incentive is there and the entry point isn't, that's what people are going to do. I mean, we see it in every single market. Matter of fact, I saw it today. I saw it on the local newspaper here. Apparently, the state is going to crack down on black market cannabis. Now, I want you to think about this. It's legal in the state for us to grow our own cannabis. Now, of course, we can be over limit and so on and so forth, but we are authorized to do that. So it's legal for us to grow a few plants, you know, and have a few of them in adult and have a few of them in clone and whatever. Point being, it's legal. There are ways for us to grow even more that are legal. However, they require some licenses. And the price of those licenses is kind of expensive. Not only that, but if we want to get our product sold in a dispensary, we have all kinds of regulatory burdens that we have to pay for, like the testing and all that other bullshit, that inhibits our product getting to the market. Now, if we regulated the cannabis market in this state the way that we've regulated the crypto market, there wouldn't be a fucking black market for pot. Everything that was grown that could get on a fucking shelf and made a profit on would be on a fucking shelf making us profit. But no, that's not good enough. We've got to make the hurdles for entry so high that the average person that's just barely paying their fucking property taxes and being able to put food in their mouth, but can grow really fucking killer pot, has to do like an illegal bumper crop, sell the illegal bumper crop, have the money to pay for the licenses, and then get in the game. And so, at some point or another, you're not in compliance. And now they wonder why there's a fucking black market existing. It's because they have created all of the nutrients and all of the soil amendments and all the nutrient that they have to spray on it for that to grow. They put up all kinds of borders that you can't fucking get over. The average person can't just grow some fucking pot, take it down to the dispensary, dump it on them, and say, yes, I'm willing to accept, 5 cents a fucking gram or whatever, or a penny a gram to get this in the door. They've taken that option away from us. And so their response now is they want to crack down on a natural response to all of this bullshit stacked on top of a very, very simple process. You put the seed in the ground, you grow the pot, you trim the pot, you treat the pot right, you harvest the pot, you process the pot, and then you put it on a fucking shelf and somebody buys it and smokes it. It's a very, very simple process. And no. You have to have the seal of approval of the OMMP, and they have to give you the special license, and they have to have an inspector come out and inspect your shit, and then you have to take your shit to the inspector to make sure there's no bug shit in there and there's no chemicals in there. Whatever. I was discussing this with the cashier at the store. I was like, look, it's like this. And there were two of them there, and so I'm like, I pointed at one of them and I said, if I go to her to buy pot and I go to you to buy pot, but I decide later on that I'm only going to go to you to buy pot because I don't like her pot, that's the market deciding. That's how the market is supposed to work. It's like if I develop a preference for somebody's pot, I'm going to buy from them. I can get good stuff at a good price. I'm going to buy their stuff. But we never allowed that process to happen here in Oregon. They put up all kinds of gates and shit, and so the only people that could actually afford to get into the game legally were people that had earned their money in the black market illegally. And so, and on top of that, you've got market containment to put the barrier for entry too high for anybody to come in, right? Personally, I would like to see the market go like this, where you take away all the regulations, you take away all the bullshit taxes, all right? And you just worry about the income tax from the people selling it. And the increased revenue that you derive from them being in business. That's all you worry about. Because the 6 people that work there, at least one of them didn't have a job before. Maybe more than one of them did not have a job before. And now they are making a decent amount of money. So they're going to rent a more expensive place. They're going to go to a restaurant now and then. They're going to buy nicer clothes. They're going to buy a car. They're going to go back to school. They're going to spend money in the economy. And that does us a lot more good than putting up a bunch of barriers so that they can't get in, then putting them on a corner, selling their shit because that's the only market that's available to them, and then send the IRS out after them if they can't account for how they made their money, and then try and take away their black market again by busting down on them. And now you're using money that you're earning from the legitimate players to turn around and bust illegitimate players. And of course, for the legitimate players, it's like, oh, hey, cool, you're getting rid of some of my competition. The fact of the matter is that with the mindset of the average Oregonian, in my mind, all you're going to be creating is additional premiums. You're going to make the pot more expensive. And so that's going to create more market for cheaper product. And people will go to where they can get the best product for the best price. And the consumers will be fine as long as they're not like holding a pound at a time, and they're not really allowed to have that much because of whatever regulation. But again, just creating a fucking market. That's pretty much all that such prohibitions are doing. And I don't see that continuing to punish people for taking advantage of the situation that you've created is really the best way to go about it. I mean, to me, because you're going to end up putting people in jail that can put out the best product at the best price and facilitate the most commerce. We've never hit that threshold. And that's why I say it's like the best thing to do would be to get rid of all the regulations and all the little hoops and hurdles and all that bullshit. Let the market go for about 2, maybe 3 years. And let us sort it out. You know, if there's a real issue, you know, like people are passing out behind the wheel from eating your shit or whatever, it will come up in a fucking city council meeting and you guys can deal with it on a local level. But to me, that's the most effective way to do it. Because otherwise you're going to end up, I think, constraining too much of the positive market, putting people in jail that really shouldn't be in jail, and, you know, pretty much the same situation that we had before we made pot legal, which is kind of like against the goal of making it legal, you know? Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music, and let's see, we ended off with some ministry, and so I haven't been playing any Nine Inch Nails, and that's where I want to go with it. So, The Becoming by Nine Inch Nails here on Coin Metal. And that was Slipknot with The Devil and I. Yeah, I was very harsh on the SEC earlier today. And, you know, I guess it's something like, you know, I've been around cryptocurrencies for quite a while now. And for the most part, these regulatory bodies have been relatively silent with regard to us. It wasn't really until like 2014, 2015 when we started seeing a lot of altcoin booms and busts and real crime. I mean, make no mistake, there was actual criminal activity going on back then. And there's no doubt about it. But the people that committed the crimes are either A, on the run, B, in jail, or C, currently getting prosecuted for their crimes. So, you know, I don't see where there's a failure here. You know, the system is really working. But I will say this, that what I've noted of my observance of the markets is this, that the warning to action ratio with regard to cryptocurrencies is so much faster than any other market. And I don't know if it's because we are as unregulated as we are. You know, we don't have all these little envelopes of time that we could be reporting within. And those are the signals that everybody trusts. And those are the signals that everybody goes by. And, oh, they're reporting to the SEC. They're compliant. They're wonderful. You know, blah, blah, blah. You know, as long as they're making those signals, then Then they had the envelopes of time between reporting intervals where they could be jerking off and, flexing this and posting that. And the point being is you don't have that kind of squirm space now in the unregulated market. And it's because you are wholly accountable to your actions here. And we can monitor that shit. Now, again, you start putting cloaks of time and veils of reporting windows, and we start trusting that shit, we are that much more susceptible to being duped. And we only have to look back to like Equifax. Okay? How long had it been from the moment that they realized they had lost the records, or at least somebody gained access to the records of 1 out of 3 American adults in the United States? How long from that point to the point when we were seeing articles on the Wall Street Journal about some sort of action going on? Now, as I recall, I'd been monitoring the situation from when we were first notified. And as I recall, there was like a 45-day interval when this shit was unnotified to the public. And there were people trading on the information that they knew that not everybody else knew. And in the meantime, the stock was tanking. Or it was going down. But everybody who was privy to the knowledge had an opportunity to sell out higher than when everybody else found out about it on the Wall Street Journal. And I mean, not everybody is as privy to that information as the SEC or the CFTC or any of the other organizations that are monitoring and regulating these markets. But the point being is that you don't have that kind of squirm space. If Coinbase was insolvent right now due to a massive hack, they do not have the window to hold open for 45 days before everybody in the fucking world is aware that they are insolvent. I mean, they have a little bit of cloak of freedom there, but it's not long before they have to close down deposits or withdrawals because of some issue. And it happens all the time. As we've noted earlier with Binance. Okay, Binance, I don't care if they're regulated. I don't care if they're compliant with the SEC and the CFTC. What I care about is this. Somebody or a few people had issues with their APIs doing illegitimate transactions. And they are currently resolving it. And they are being completely public about it. I can't ask for better than that. I really can't. You know, and this has been my experience with regard to cryptocurrencies and trading this entire time. I haven't had CFTC reports. I haven't had SEC reports. I haven't had the FDIC commentary. I didn't have FinCEN. I didn't have the NYDFS. I didn't have any of these entities to communicate to me the situation. I had MintPal. I had my fellow traders. I had, Cryptsy themselves. And for the most part, I've managed to stay relatively whole. And we're talking about 9 years now. And I'm not completely wrecked. I mean, so you really have to wonder exactly what utility the advisory of course, this whole market, other than, of course, the places where it interfaces with the quote-unquote legacy markets, because that's their ballpark. That's their shit. That's what they do. And I'm not against advisories. Because, like I said, I was a bit harsh on them earlier, but the commentary that I've read from the SEC and the CFTC with regard to cryptocurrencies, I think there's some minor misconceptions, but they are not in what I would consider to be malicious. You know, they're not redefinitions for malicious purposes. I think that they're just misunderstandings. Like this whole blockchain and DLT thing. My definition of a quote-unquote blockchain is this. It's a it's a proof of work already performed. That's it. But you don't get it without miners. You get it from miners. You get it from willing, participating miners. You know, you don't get it from... I don't consider Monero to be a legitimate cryptocurrency anymore, only because they get a lot of their hashing power from this CoinHive shit. Or, I don't know, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know, but the question has been opened up because CoinHive mines fucking Monero. And it does it without your knowledge. So you're not willingly participating in the mining of that cryptocurrency. But work is being performed, and it's being performed by your machine. Now, of course, it does have a blockchain, and if they ever get a handle on this fucking CoinHive situation, to where all of the CoinHive hash power is legitimately being drawn from willing participants, willing, knowing participants, then I would consider Monero to be an official cryptocurrency again. But again, a lot of their hashing power, from all I know, their fucking hashing power is coming from IoT devices that have had this fucking scriptless injection done to them, you know, for whatever reason, you know, like your tablet or some shit like that. That's where their fucking network is. That it's just a bunch of fucking botnets. Now, we had that issue at one point with Bitcoin, and I believe something was done about it, but I'm not entirely certain. But like I said, I think that kind of thing draws into question the whole Bitcoin thing or cryptocurrency thing. Is when you're not a willing participant in it. I mean, that to me cheapens it. You know, but it is a response to the market. The market has a greater need for hashing power because of the transactions that it is supporting than there are voluntary miners. And I think that's just on you kind of thing. You know, I mean, you can look on YouTube and find all kinds of examples of people taking solar panels, hooking them up to batteries, and then mining with some low power device, but mining nonetheless. And it all starts with one fucking miner. If that's all you've got, that's what you can do it with. But you just reinvest everything that you make from it for a little while back into it. And don't sell for retail. Jesus Christ. Trade that shit. You know, you mined it. Why should you just sell it right back into the pool? You know, why take retail for it? Hold on to it. Watch the market. Look at your charts. Find the best place to sell it. The lack of availability at retail sale will cause the price to go up. Wow. Economics 101, baby. I mean, but it all starts with one. You know, you think Jihan Wu fucking started off with a warehouse full of miners? No. He started off the same way as everybody else. Whatever hashing power he could dedicate to it, he did dedicate to it. And he got rewarded for it. And what did he do? He reinvested it. And that's why he's one of the biggest miners on planet Earth right now. But that's the example to follow, kids. Don't need to envy him. You don't need to talk shit about him. Put your fucking money where your mouth is. put up or shut up. Anyway, I got this article here on TechCrunch.com. SEC says cryptocurrency exchanges are an unregulated mess. Just the way we like them. And this is by Romain Dillet. This is going to require just a teeny tiny bit of investigation. Romain, yes, penis. Continuing on. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has issued a warning on cryptocurrency exchanges, and we are going to right-click on that. The SEC says that many exchanges are currently unregulated and can do whatever they want with your money. As an investor, you should be extremely careful. As a company running an exchange, you should expect a crackdown soon. The SEC first assumes that cryptocurrencies and tokens offered through ICOs are securities. As securities, cryptocurrency exchanges should follow the same rules as every exchange. They should register through the SEC as a national securities exchange, an alternative trading system, or a broker-dealer. But the SEC says that the current situation is a mess. Quote, the SEC staff has concerns that many online trading platforms appear to investors as SEC-registered and regulated marketplaces when they are not, the SEC wrote. Many platforms refer to themselves as, quote, exchanges, which can give the misimpression to investors that they are regulated or meet the regulatory standards of a national securities exchange. But many exchanges have set up their own rules when it comes to listing new cryptocurrencies. But the SEC has no say in this process and can't guarantee that those are safe investments. Similarly, the SEC never reviews trading tools on cryptocurrency exchanges. For instance, if you submit a limit order on an exchange, you have to trust the exchange that it'll strictly follow your order. The exchange could give priority to bigger investors or screw up the order book without any consequence. The SEC also reminded cryptocurrency exchanges that they're supposed to register as an ATS. For example, after Circle's acquisition of Poloniex, Nathaniel Popper saw a confidential Circle presentation. Circle plans to work with the SEC to register Poloniex. Just a side note from confidential Circle presentation, it does more to explain Circle's acquisition of Poloniex than anything I have seen today. Yes. The SEC was very favorable on the approach and indicated that they would not pursue any enforcement activity for prior activity, Circle wrote. They said, "We are the first and only company in this space to approach them, and we're very progressive on working closely with us." So it seems like there could be a grace period for US-based exchanges before an eventual crackdown, but many US investors rely on foreign exchanges to trade cryptocurrencies. It's unclear how the SEC plans to protect US investors from creating accounts on foreign exchanges. Here's the SEC's list of questions to cryptocurrency investors to help them pick an exchange. 1. Do you trade securities on this platform? If so, is the platform registered as a national securities exchange? See our link below. See our link to the list below. Does this platform operate as an ATS? If so, is the ATS registered as a broker-dealer, and has it filed a Form ATS with the SEC? See our link to the list below. Is there information in FINRA's broker check about individuals or firms operating the platforms? You know what, dude? All of this shit in my book, is kind of superfluous. But I mean, if you're like a, I don't know, I guess if you're like what's that word? Institutional investor. You know, if you're trading directly with banks or something like that, this is very useful information. So I'll continue on just for you guys. How does the platform select digital assets for trading? Who can trade on the platform? What are the trading protocols? How are prices set on the platform? Are platform users treated equally? What are the platform's fees? That's important no matter who you are. How does the platform safeguard users' trading and personally identifying information? What are the platform's protections against cybersecurity threats such as hacking or intrusions? What other services does the platform provide? Is the platform registered with the SEC for these services? Does the platform hold users' assets? If so, how are these assets safeguarded? That's important no matter who you are. There you have it. Some qualifications. Some are very, very important. Ooh, that's pretty interesting. We're going to right-click on that one too. Some of them are very pertinent no matter who you are. And I will say this, they're slightly conservative. My biggest concern with an exchange is this: what's its reputation? You know, and you can find information about any exchange on social media. You know, you look it up on Google. Look up the name of the exchange and complaints. Find out what the typical complaints are. Look at and a lot of times you'll be able to see either posted by the company themselves or by somebody, like a screenshot of their conversation with the company, and get an idea for how they treat their customers. You know, I mean, I'll say this: Bittrex, I think it's a good exchange. I haven't had any real issues with them. As a matter of fact, the only real issues I've had have been in trying to get back into my account. And I find it kind of comforting. Why? Because it lets me know that it's going to be that much more difficult for somebody to hack into my account. Because it's very difficult for me as the legitimate user of the account to get back into the account once something is changed. Like, you know, my 2FA program changes or some shit like that. You know, all of a sudden it wipes out my security keys and I got to reestablish them. I've had to go through that process with Bittrex, and it did take me a couple days to do it. But I followed the fucking instructions that Bittrex gave me, and I got back into my account. Now, other people had issues, the same issue, and it took considerably longer for them. Why? Because they failed to follow the very basic instructions that Bittrex gave them. If you don't read the fucking notification email that they send you, you will not know what to do next. Open the fucking email, read the shit to the letter, follow their instructions with how to respond to them. Don't start another fucking ticket just because it didn't solve your problem right off the bat. Very, very simple. Very, very simple instructions they give you. I mean, I can't stress that enough. And I've been, the reason I'm stressing it at all is because I've been the problem. I've been the problem that was failing to understand the situation and went back and read the fucking email over again and said, oh, Jesus Christ. They told me how to do it. I'm the failure here. I'm the fucking pebcac. I gotta resolve the situation according to the instructions that they've given me. I followed the instructions. Bam. I'm in my account. and I was in Discord or something like that. It was, no, not Discord. What's that other one? The hashtag one. Slack. I took care of it through their Slack channel and through email. But I had the Slack chan open still. And I looked at it, and there were still the same people that were bitching about it before I got in the situation. They were bitching about it'd been a week for them, and they're still having a fucking issue. And, you ask them, how many tickets have you started? Oh, like 4. Well, it's because Bittrex is trying to figure out which fucking support ticket to go to. So you got to stay in here and post your ticket number and tell them which one to follow. Anyway, continuing on, they were still whining about it after I had managed to get back into my account. So I'm thinking, okay, it's a matter of they're failing to follow the instructions. It's not an issue with Bittrex themselves. And that's been my biggest problem with them. Is my problem with following their instructions. That's it. And again, they were very simple instructions. I just failed to read the entire ones. But with regard to the instructions that they've given us on this TechCrunch article, again, a lot of them are prudent, very conservative, but a lot of them I think are kind of out of your concern. I mean, if you're in cryptocurrencies, you're already taking the money into your own hands. I mean, once you've taken it out of your bank account and put it in your Bitcoin wallet, it's now your responsibility. It's not the SEC's responsibility. It's not the CFTC's responsibility. If you space some fucking funds, you space the motherfucking funds. It was your fault. It's nobody else's fault. Therefore, you are accountable. And I know that's kind of a concept that we're having a little bit of difficulty with, only because Visa, to some extent, fails to hold people really accountable. When they do things like they buy cryptocurrency from somebody on a Visa card and then they cancel the transaction. That's just fucked up. You're a dick. I mean, and I will say this: exchanges like Coinbase, they've gone through a lot of trouble to protect themselves from exactly that kind of situation, and for that I got to tip my hat to them, because they've made efforts, regardless of whether or not the SEC is breathing down their neck, to see to the security of their customers, and like I said, I find that very commendable. That to me is what really counts. It's like how you act even without people watching you. That means a lot. Anyway, I got this thing on the SEC.gov website. Statement on potentially unlawful online platforms for trading digital assets. Divisions of Enforcement and Trading and Markets, March 7th, 2018. Online trading platforms have become a popular way investors can buy and sell digital assets, including coins and tokens, offered and sold in so-called initial coin offerings, ICOs. The platforms often claim to give investors the ability to quickly buy and sell digital assets. Many of these platforms bring buyers and sellers together in one place and offer investors access to automated systems that display priced orders, execute trades, and provide transaction data. A number of these platforms provide a mechanism for trading assets that meet the definition of a, quote, security under the federal securities laws. If a platform offers trading of digital assets that are securities and operates as a, quote, exchange, as defined by federal securities laws, then the platform must register with the SEC as a national securities exchange or be exempt from registration. The federal regulatory framework governing registered national securities exchanges and exempt markets is designed to protect investors and prevent against fraudulent and manipulative trading practices. Considerations for investors using online trading platforms. To get the protections offered by the federal securities laws and SEC oversight when trading digital assets that are securities, investors should use a platform or entity registered with the SEC, such as a national securities exchange, alternative trading system, or broker-dealer. The SEC staff has concerns that many online trading platforms appear to investors as SEC-registered and regulated marketplaces when they are not. That's never been my impression, I gotta tell you. Many platforms offer to themselves as exchanges, which can give the misimpression that investors that they are regulated or meet the regulatory standards of a national securities exchange. Although some of these platforms claim to use strict standards to pick only high-quality digital assets to trade, the SEC does not review these standards or the digital assets that the platforms select, and the so-called standards should not be equated to the listing standards of national securities exchanges. Likewise, the SEC does not review the trading protocols used by these platforms, which determine how orders interact and execute, and access to a platform's trading services may not be the same for all users. Again, investors should not assume that the trading protocols meet the standards of an SEC-registered national securities exchange. Lastly, many of these platforms give the impression that they perform exchange-like functions by offering order books with updated bid and ask pricing and data about executions on the system. But there is no reason to believe that such information has the same integrity as that provided by national securities exchanges. In light of the foregoing, here are some questions investors should ask before they decide to trade digital assets on an online trading platform. Do you trade securities on this platform? So, blah, blah, blah. If so, this is the same business that we read before. Resources for investors. And this is a set of links here. Investor.gov spotlight on initial coin offerings and digital assets. I've actually read that. It's good stuff. Chairman Jay Clayton's statement on cryptocurrencies and initial coin offerings. Yes, we have read that on this show as well. Chairman Jay Clayton's testimony on virtual currencies. No, we did not read the entirety of it because it was fucking long. The roles of the SEC and the CFTC. We did read some of it. Report of investigation pursuant to Section 21A of the Securities and Exchange Act of 1934, the DAO. Investors can find a list of SEC-registered national securities exchanges here. List of active national securities exchanges, which we will not click on. Investors can find a list of ATSs that have filed a Form ATS with the SEC here. No, we're not going to click on that either. Considerations for market participants operating online trading platforms. A platform that trades securities and operates as a, quote, exchange, as defined by the federal securities laws, must register as a national securities exchange or operate under an exemption from registration, such as the exemption provided for ATSs under SEC Regulation ATS. An SEC-registered national securities exchange must, among other things, have rules designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices. Additionally, as a self-regulatory organization, SRO, The SEC registered National Securities Exchange must have rules and procedures governing the discipline of its members and persons associated with its members, and enforce compliance by its members and persons associated with its members with the federal securities laws and the rules of the exchange. Further, a national securities exchange must itself comply with the federal securities laws and must file its rules with the Commission. An entity seeking to operate as an ATS is also subject to regulatory requirements, including registering with the SEC as a broker-dealer and becoming a member of an SRO. Registration as a broker-dealer subjects the ATS to a host of regulatory requirements, such as the requirement to have reasonable policies and procedures to prevent the misuse of material non-public information, books and records, requirements and financial responsibility rules, including, as applicable, requirements concerning the safeguarding and custody of customer funds and securities. The overlay of SRO membership imposes further regulatory requirements and oversight. An ATS must comply with the federal securities laws and its SRO rules and file a Form ATS with the SEC. Some online trading platforms may not meet the definition of an exchange under the federal securities laws, but directly or indirectly offer trading or other services related to digital assets that are securities. For example, some platforms offer digital wallet services to hold or store digital assets or transact in digital assets that are securities. These and other services offered by platforms may trigger other registration requirements under the federal securities laws, including broker-dealer, transfer agent, or clearing agency registration, among other things. In addition, a platform that offers digital assets that are securities may be participating in the unregistered offer and sale of securities if those securities are not registered or exempt from registration. In advancing the SEC's mission to protect investors, the SEC staff will continue to focus on platforms that offer trading of digital assets and their compliance with the federal securities laws. Consultation with Securities Counsel and the SEC staff. We encourage market participants who are employing new technologies to develop trading platforms to consult with legal counsel to aid in their analysis of federal securities law issues and contact the SEC staff as needed for assistance in analyzing the application of federal securities laws. In particular, staff providing assistance on these matters can be reached at fintech@sec.gov. Resources for market participants, regulation of exchanges and alternative trading systems. We might actually get into that today. Select Commission enforcement actions, SEC v. John E. Montrol and Bitfunder. Yeah, we've actually read that, I think. In response, BTC Trading Corp. and Ethan Burnside, SEC v. Recoin Group Foundation LLC et al. SEC versus Plex Corp. et al. And Inri Munchie Inc. and SEC versus Arise Bank et al. Interesting stuff. So yeah, it seems like it's kind of circular. You know, if you haven't registered with the SEC, you might not be compliant. You might be trading things that may be considered possibly securities by the SEC or some other organization. but not necessarily you. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Personally, I think that I've never been under the impression that any of the coins that I've been trading have in fact been securities. I've never been under that impression. I've never assumed it. It's never been indicated to me on an exchange. It's never been communicated to me via social media that in fact what I was trading or investing in were securities. So, whether or not it's actually a national securities exchange or not is not really material as far as I'm concerned. I'm trading cryptocurrencies, and to my knowledge, every time that I've withdrawn cryptocurrencies from an exchange, I've actually gotten the cryptocurrency and the volume that I withdrew into the wallet and or other receptacle that I intended to send it to. So, like when I send some money from Coinbase over to, Binance. When I do that, I can see the record of the transaction. I can see its current status. I can click on a link and follow it on the fucking blockchain until when I get my first confirmation. And then I can look on Binance and tell when they've actually received it. And then I can tell when they've got their second confirmation or their 20th confirmation or whatever they need in order to be able to count that in my available balance. And as soon as it's there, I can see that the volume that I've received was the volume that I sent from Coinbase. I'm happy. The money went from Coinbase, it went over to Binance, and it happened faster than any Visa transaction has ever finally cleared to my bank account ever, still, now. So, I don't really see the problem here. Now, if there's ever really an issue with that, the persons I'm going to be bitching to is either myself for being compromised, the interface by which I utilized to do something, in which case it might have been compromised, or the exchange themselves, or service that I used that themselves got compromised. And really the only place that I'm due any redress is with the exchange, because of course if they got hacked and they lost my money, then they owe me some motherfucking money. And you know what? Their willingness to try and resolve the situation, to me, shows they're really the thing that I need to see. Like when Bitfinex got hacked, they did that BFX thing. I didn't really like it at first because I thought it was shit. But then I made money on it, and so I quit bitching. So, I don't really see where the problem is there. Sure, it took some time to get me whole, and I did lose a little bit of money on it, but eventually, all told, I walked away from my Bitfinex account, and I still have it or whatnot, and as soon as they get their shit straight, I might actually start trading on there again. But, yeah, I walked away from Bitfinex with more money than I put into Bitfinex. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's really all that counts. I made money there. I didn't lose money. I wasn't defrauded of any money. So, there again, the SEC had no part in that. The FDIC had no part of that. There was no registration. There was no stipulation. There was no certification, whatever. There was no evaluation or audit. It fucking worked out. And you know what? It worked out according to expectations I think are perfectly reasonable within this sphere. The fact that we aren't regulated, the fact that we are accountable to one another. I think that really that's about all you need in a market. I think if conventional markets had that kind of reciprocal level, that we wouldn't see the level of fraud and misappropriation that we do. Just my feeling. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I've been avoiding Static X. I don't know why, but I have been. So, Wisconsin Death Trip here on Coin Metal. And that was Textures with Regenesis. Yeah, dig that song. Make sure we're 5x5 here on our inputs. Everything's looking cool. Cool. Alright. So anyway, I checked on this Binance thing, and apparently there's been some resolutions with regard to that. And I saw something on here. I'm trying to find it. Here it is. Binance has reversed all irregular trades, and this is as of 2:57 p.m. March 7th, 2018. So that was a little while ago. No indication of whether or not that was PST though. Anyway, continuing on. Binance has reversed all irregular trades. All deposit trading and withdrawal are resumed. We'll write a more detailed account of what happened shortly. Interestingly, the hackers lost coins during this attempt. We will donate this to Binance charity. Good on you, Binance. So there we go. A lot of FUD for nothing. And you know what? I don't think that we could expect that good or as good a resolution to an issue just because we got an SEC approval. You know what I mean? If this is a quote-unquote unregulated mess, I'm all for it. I mean, the thing happened today. It was resolved today. It happened. They reacted. They resolved it. And here we are. We're on the other side. Everybody's whole. Everybody's happy. What's the problem? You know, so yeah, that's enough for Binance fudding for this episode. But I do have one other article that I'd like to dive into because I think this is kind of interesting. Not only in what it is, but also what it may say about cryptocurrency in Wyoming, or at least how the Wyoming legislature considers cryptocurrency. Continuing on, this is on TechCrunch.com, and I want to make a minor adjustment here, just kind of make things a little easier for me. Wyoming works to make some crypto tokens exempt from regulation. And this is by John Biggs, posted approximately, let's see how long it really was, 12 hours ago. So yes, penis. Wyoming, a wide open state with plenty of free wind power, is continuing to be a surprising leader in cryptocurrency legislation. To wit, the recent passing of HB number 0070, a bill that allows the sale of, quote, open blockchain tokens to be exempt from regulation and money-sending legislation. These tokens are very specific in their use and would more commonly be called, quote, utility tokens, essentially tokens used in the consumption of various services. They are very different from so-called equity tokens, which are sold on the promise or implied promise of investor gain. I'm sorry, I've never bought a cryptocurrency with the assumption that, like, that wasn't like an attribute of the coin, whether or not I was actually going to be guaranteed a return by the... Anyway, continuing on. The tokens must fulfill one or all of these criteria. Number one, the developer or seller of the token reasonably believed that it sold the token to the initial buyer for a consumptive purchase. Number two, the token has a consumptive purpose that is available at the time of sale and can be used at or near the time of sale for use for consumptive purposes. 3. If the token does not have a consumptive purpose available at the time of sale, the initial buyer of the token is prevented from reselling the token until the token is available for use for a consumptive purpose. Or number 4, the developer or seller takes other reasonable precautions to prevent buyers from purchasing the token as a financial investment. What? Dude, the whole reason to purchase it, even if it were a fucking utility coin, would be to make a higher arbitrage or valuation or a value on the token. I mean, like, why am I going to pay my electricity bill in a specific token unless it's giving me a premium over paying it in US dollars or other token? I don't understand. That's a financial investment if you hadn't already heard. Continuing. Wyoming has already exempted cryptocurrency from the Wyoming Money Transfer Act, a fact can be exploited to allow for sandboxing of blockchain-based money transfer services. This move is important for a few reasons. First, it shows Wyoming, like Vancouver, is forward-thinking in using its talents and resources to allow freer reins for cryptocurrency companies. Inviting a few dozen crypto startups to Cheyenne would up the tax rolls considerably. Further, it shows Wyoming's willingness to be a testbed for future regulation. For good or ill, like Colorado and California, Wyoming is experimenting with the future in hopes of improving the present. And this is what I have to say about Wyoming saying anything, and that's that it's really not their place. If cryptocurrency is like spawning up in Wyoming, it's because there is an advantage of it being there. And further scrutinizing it or pretending that you have the authority to do so will only negate future investment in your state. See, there are states that haven't said anything about cryptocurrencies, and as you start to say more about cryptocurrencies, they will look more appealing than you. You see how that works? It's the mutually assured destruction quagmire of our century. I'm telling you, the harder you squeeze, the more it will want to go somewhere else. That's all there is to it. You want to do it state by state? Look at New York. They've already shown you how to fuck up a perfect place for cryptocurrencies to take root with BitLicense. They've already shown you what that looks like. So, continuing to say anything about regulating or taxing or any of that other business is only going to negate the probability of it happening in your state. So Wyoming, thinking they're being, quote, forward-thinking and, quote, proactive by putting any kind of restriction on it, I think it's kind of silly. Here we are. I got this thing, HB number 0070. I think we can mush through 6 pages in the next 10 minutes. That seems easy enough to do. Continue. This is sponsored by Representatives Lindholm, Brown, Clem, Harshman, Larson, Miller, and Olson, and Senator Agar, Case, Driscoll, Nethercott, and Rothfuss. An act relating to securities providing that a person who develops, sells, or facilitates the exchange of an open blockchain token is not subject to specified securities and money transmission laws. Providing specified verification authority to the Secretary of State and Banking Commissioner, making conforming amendments, and providing for an effective date. Let's see, this is January 24th, 2018. Bill number assigned. February 9th, 2018, received for introduction. February 13th, 2018, introduced and referred to HO9 Minerals 60-0-0-0-0. We're not going to go through the roll call because we don't really care. What we want is here. Page 2, line 7, delete 4 and insert or provided for the purposes of receiving. No. Usually they do these amendments actually in text, so we're not going to read them up front first. Oh, wait a minute. These are all corrections to something else, it looks like. Okay. Here we go. To engross copy, page 4, lines 6 and 7, delete entirely and insert blah 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 blah. To enclose copy, page 1, 4. After laws, insert providing for specified verification authority to the Secretary of State. Oh my gosh, this is just all You know, this is all amendments to pre-existing legislation, and we've run into this before where they're trying to pin stuff, like pin the tail on a donkey here. An act relating to securities providing that a person who develops, sells, or facilitates the exchange of an open blockchain token is not subject. This is all. Let's see. H placed on general file. HB 0070 HS001 adopted. Yeah, this is all like amendments to something else. I hate when they do that, because usually you need to go back to the originating documents to know what the fuck they're even talking about. Let's see. A person with order. I'm trying to figure out exactly when this actually starts. I can read this part, I guess. Let's see. Page 8, after line 18, insert 40-22-126, unlicensed persons. Verification authority regarding exemptions. B. If the Commissioner has reason to believe a person is engaged in or is about to engage in any activity which may be subject to this Act, but for exemption asserted pursuant to WS 40-22-104 AVI, and the Commissioner has reason to believe that the requirements have not been met, and the Commissioner may issue an order to show cause why an order to cease and desist the activity should not issue. You know what? We're not going to read this fucking thing, because all it is, like I said, it's amendments to pre-existing legislation, and that's something we would actually have to read to understand anything about what they're talking about. And this other thing I found, the Securities and Exchange Commission regulation of exchanges and alternative trading systems. I would read that, but it's 108 fucking pages, and we're not going to read it. I mean, the longest legislation I've read on this show was 58 pages, and it took me 3 episodes to complete it. And we're not doing that again. That's just not. It wasn't fun. I don't think it was fun for me. I'm sure it probably wasn't fun for a lot of my audience. But it is up on YouTube, and if you do want to check it out, I gamed it up as much as I possibly could, as much as you can, a 58-page piece of legislation. But it's there. We did complete it, and I think it was worth it only to be able to get context for the 3rd episode of that, which is where we ran into pay dirt, where it was really important as far as cryptocurrencies are concerned. But yeah, like I said, we're not going to be reading amendments to previously existing legislation. That's hurtful. It's hurtful to me, And I'm not going to ask you to go back and read the referring legislation. But I do have one last article that I think we can chew up here instead. Bitcoin investors should prepare for risks. UK could weigh on prices. Bitcoin investors should be careful. Bitcoin price continues to make sideways movement as the global investment communities are still unsure about the future of cryptocurrencies. The debate for its utilization as an alternative currency and medium of exchange has been going on for years. Bitcoin price was hammered from the $20,000 mark at the beginning of the year to only $6,000. This was after intellectuals, regulators, and global leaders stressed on the need for regulating cryptocurrencies during the World Economic Forum. Regulators and senior market analysts have turned significantly bearish on digital currencies. They don't appreciate investments in Bitcoin and other digital currencies. Indeed, they are predicting an instant crash and massive risk of losing the investment. Bitcoin's trading volume has decreased substantially in the last few weeks, following bearish comments from key players. The reports showed that Bitcoin transactions dropped to the lowest level in 2 years, while Google Trends data indicated a drop of 80% in searches for Bitcoin. UK could take stronger action against cryptocurrencies. The UK Prime Minister Theresa May had promised to carefully look at Bitcoin and other digital currencies to avoid the illegal movement of wealth. The regulators from UK aren't sending positive signals, suggesting strict regulatory actions from one of the significant cryptocurrencies markets. While Bangladesh, India, China, and other countries have already banned cryptocurrency trading amid the threat of money laundering and tax evasion, poor response from European and British regulators poses a risk for the possible crash in prices. And by the way, I will say this, in all three places, they're still fucking trading cryptocurrencies, so I have no idea what these people are talking about. I mean, it's not like the trading actually stopped, so continuing on. Bitcoin investors should now take steps to protect their investment from risks that could result in complete losses, the Bank of England chief economist has warned. You know what, they've warned similar shit before and we've still managed to make money, so you gotta wonder. Followed by harsh remarks from the Bank of England's governor, the chief economist Andy Haldane warned for the immediate price crash. He said, quote, "There are lots of potential risks there, one of which is the danger to the consumer from buying into this stuff. If you want to invest in Bitcoin, be prepared to lose all your money. That would be my serious warning." Yeah, okay. Good for you. Thank you very much, dude. I don't think that's a really useful commentary. Mostly because that's the kind of stuff we were hearing back in 2012. And I think we heard it again in 2014. And I think we probably heard it a few times in 2015 through 2016. And I'm sure we heard it a lot during 2017. But you know what? Here we fucking are, still investing in cryptocurrencies. So, the likelihood that tomorrow we'll still be trading cryptocurrencies, I'd say, is pretty fucking high. And that being said, we gotta really wonder about these kind of warnings that you can instantly lose all your money. You know what, dude? You already took that risk. If you're even listening to me, chances are you're already invested in cryptocurrencies. And if you're not, you're listening to me to figure out exactly how you might want to go about it. All I can say is this. Get some social media accounts, a lot of them, and follow some groups. Just listen to them at first. Don't follow them as far as where is to put your money. That's for you to decide. Ultimately, it is you who clicks on buy or who clicks on sell. If you have a loss, it was yours. It wasn't anybody else's. But you take that responsibility on by even getting into this space. And to expect like the SEC or the FDIC or any of these other organizations to be able to protect you, I think it's not really sane to be expecting them to protect you even in legitimate markets, as we have seen multiple times. The whole reason we are even here is because of failures within regulated markets. And that's something to not lose sight of. The 2009 crisis, that happened in regulated markets. There were people gaming the system all the way through. They gave the signals like they were healthy, like they were perfectly reasonable, like you could trust your money in them. They did all the reporting, everything was kosher until it no longer was. And we were the last out. We always are. And worse yet, we were asked to pick up the tab for it and not really given a choice in the matter. And now we wear that burden on our shoulders. Crypto will never ask you for a bailout. If it does, it wasn't a cryptocurrency. And it is with that I would like to close out this episode. I'd like to thank you very much for your support. I certainly do appreciate it. You'll be able to find me on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. I have been updating. I have been recording and editing and all that. My apologies. I am a little bit behind the curve, but only because I've got a few other things that have been really, really pressing on me. Otherwise, I'd be dedicating full time to getting those things up as soon as possible. But I will do my best to do that. And so we will be back. I'm thinking Saturday. If I do have a change in that, I will notify you guys on my Twitter, on other in Telegram, and also in the IRC chat room for Verge. But yeah, I do have a awards ceremony on Friday, and it is probably the only thing that I would ever put a pause on this show for. It's kind of very, very, very important to me. So yeah, we will be back again on Saturday this time. 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as usual. And so until then, I want you all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And if you do it successfully, you will be among the elite of the cryptosphere. I don't know that I could actually claim to be, but this one goes out to you. The potential elite of tomorrow. Within the Ruins, Elite Last Dance here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and you all have an excellent evening. It is Friday, March 2nd, 2018. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little Coin Metal. And yeah, it was a very, very productive Get Your Ass Kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. As a matter of fact, it was kind of special. I got to assist the head instructor with a private lesson for another student, and it was very productive for both of us, I think. For me in particular, I got a little bit of good roll time in, but mostly it was what we were working specifically, which was mostly mount escape, or was it not half guard escapes from the bottom, or it wasn't mount escape. It was like half guard escape from the bottom, or if the guy's got his you're flat on the ground and he's got his or your opponent rather has their torso over yours and is blocking your shoulders down to the ground, what the positive escapes are for that particular situation. And we covered 2 or 3 of them, and then we did some sparring. And I feel kind of bad, really, because I managed to mount the guy like 6 times. And, I felt bad about it because we were there to, I was there to help instruct him. And, here I am kind of sweeping the deck with him. But, I was a bit larger than him, so it was kind of a foregone conclusion. And plus, it wasn't exactly a low threat position to be starting from. He was starting flat on his back with his knees up.